Phocion was an Athenian statesman and strategos, and the subject of one of Plutarch's parallel lives. Phocion was a successful politician of Athens. He believed that extreme frugality was the condition for virtue and lived in accord with this. Consequently, he was popularly known as the Good. Further, people thought that Phocion was the most honest member of the Athenian assembly. However, within this chamber, Phocion's tendency to strong opposition relegated him to a solitary stand against the entire political class. Nonetheless, by both his individual prestige and his military expertise, which was acquired by the side of Chabrias, Phocion was elected strategos numerous times, with a record 45 terms in office. Thus, during most of his 84 years of life, Phocion occupied the most important Athenian offices. In the late 320s, when Macedon gained complete control of Athens, though somewhat compromised, Phocion defended both the urban center and its citizens. He even refused to comply with some dishonorable requests of the enemy. However, his stance put Phocion in opposition to both most free Athenians and Polyperchon, the next ruler of Macedonia, who arranged his execution in Athens. Early life. Phocion's father operated a lathe, producing iron tools. During his youth, Phocion sought to study liberal notions. He was both Plato's pupil and Xenocrates' friend. Through such philosophical education, Phocion was a virtuous moral character and he used to give prudent advice. This academic training left its mark upon him, but it was as a soldier rather than as a philosopher that he first came to notice his austere lifestyle. The Athenians recognized that Phocion was honest and he was respected as such. He had a reserved demeanor, he was never seen either laughing or weeping. Indeed, he appeared quite severe, and was often feared by those meeting him for first time. Phocion believed that the frugality proved his own virtue. He was never seen at the public baths. Both on the Athenian streets and on campaign, he walked around wearing a simple tunic and without shoes. He only made an exception in extreme cold, wearing a cloak, so other soldiers said that Phocion gave a meteorological indication. Throughout his life, Phocion lived in a home which was humble, with spare decoration, located at the Melite neighborhood, southward from the Acropolis. His wife cooked their everyday bread, and Phocion drew water, pumping it with his own hands. Phocion was first married to a woman whose father was a maker of clay statues. His second wife was famous in Athens for her humility. Once she said that her sole adornment was Phocion's 20th strategos appointment. Phocion's son was Phocus. During his youth he became licentious and addicted to partying and wine, so Phocion sent him off to Sparta for a period. Early military service to Athens. The young Phocion enrolled with Chabrias armies, in many campaigns, gaining much experience. Chabrias esteemed him highly because Phocion helped to compensate for his turbulent personality. Reciprocally, Phocion was commended for the chief actions of his campaigns, and thus gained much fame among the Athenians. In 376, Phocion's participation was crucial in the Athenian naval victory of Naxos, where he commanded the leading left wing. Since it was the first clear Athenian victory since the Peloponnesian War, the Athenians greatly honored its military leaders. The battle took place on the main day of the Eleusinian Mysteries and was remembered for years. After Chabrias died, Phocion took care of his family and particularly of his son, Ctesippus. However, Phocion could barely cope with Ctesippus, a rather slow character. At last he exclaimed, "O Chabrias, did ever a man show so much gratitude as I do in putting up with your son?" Role in the Athenian assembly. Publicly, Phocion was recognized as the most austere and wisest Athenian politician. However, in the Athenian assembly, he had an attitude of opposition to most of his peers, and criticism from Phocion was often unpopular within the chamber. Once, an oracle was brought from Delphi. It said that one man would confront the rest of the politicians, whose opposing stand would be homogeneous. Phocion then rose, exclaiming, "I am that person who disagrees." Once, after Phocion was applauded by the chamber, he asked his friends, "Have I unwittingly said something vile?" Demosthenes called him the chopper of my speeches. On another occasion, Phocion spoke but was not heeded and not permitted to continue. He said, "You may compel me to act against my wishes, but you shall never force me to speak against my judgment." On the other hand, Phocion never harmed anyone he disliked. Indeed, he was so kind that he helped a political rival if he was in some difficulty. Additionally, Phocion was unhappy that Athenian public functions had become split between two groups. Whereas the politicians dealt eminently with civilian matters, military issues were attended to exclusively by the generals. He campaigned for Athens to regain its old tradition, with politicians who could manage both sets of affairs. Parrying the eloquence of his opponents, Phocion resorted both to wise concepts and pithy sayings, which were famous in antiquity. Yet he avoided demagogic style and his tone was harsh and demanding, with few embellishments. Another distinguishing quality was that Phocion compressed many ideas into short phrases. Before any presentation, he spent much time considering how to shorten it. One of his friends said, "You seem to be thinking about something, Phocion," and he replied, "Yes, I am considering whether I can shorten a speech I am going to make." Anecdotes: when someone made a joke about his severe visage, and some of the local politicians he was not on good terms with laughed in response, he remarked, "My frown never yet made any of you sad, but these jolly men have given you plenty of sorrow." Demosthenes once said to Phocion that he might be killed someday, if the people became irrational. Phocion responded, "Yes, however, they would kill you if they came to their senses." On an occasion when Phocion was being heavily attacked by the entire assembly, he requested Alcibiades, a man who liked imitating the Spartan lifestyle, to support his stand. However, the man took the popular side, declaring against Phocion as well. Phocion then grabbed his Spartan-style beard, saying, "It's time for you to shave." Another assemblyman, Aristogeiton, was famous because he usually called for war. However, when a muster was called, he happened to appear wearing bandages around his legs and walking with a cane. Phocion got up and shouted to the enrolling officer, "Put down Aristogeiton too, as lame and unfit for service." Some time afterward, Aristogeiton was jailed, and at his request, Phocion visited him often. His friends criticized him for it, but he replied, "Come on. There is no better place to visit Aristogeiton." During a boundary dispute with Thebes, Phocion urged negotiations. While most Athenians called for war, he argued, "You had better carry on the contest with the weapons you used best, your tongues." An out-of-shape Athenian politician once made a speech advocating war with Philip II of Macedon, stopping repeatedly to drink water and catch his breath. During one such pause, Phocion remarked, "Here is a fine man to lead us into war. What do you think he'll do when he is carrying his shield and armor to meet the enemy? If giving a speech has nearly killed him with exhaustion." Record-breaking strategos. Although Phocion never canvassed the Athenians for it, he was appointed strategos a record-breaking 45 times. Sometimes he did not attend the election meetings of the Agora and the people were forced to seek him afterward. However, he accepted the appointment on every occasion. Management of the Second Athenian Sea League. Phocion was sent to the Aegean Sea by Chabrias to collect the regional tributes for the Second Athenian Sea League, as representatives of Athens were unpopular among their subject allies. Phocion had been issued 20 warships. However, he declined to bring them along, commenting that, if he was being sent to fight the islanders he would need a larger force. But if he was visiting them as allies, one ship was enough, so he departed just with his own trireme. At each city, Phocion negotiated each fee so diplomatically that he returned home with a large allied fleet, which protected their treasury. The Allies even organized colorful parades in his honor. Military service to Persia and Cyprus between 351 to 349. Phocion helped the Persian Emperor Artaxerxes III to subdue the Cypriot rebellion. Campaign in Euboea against Macedonia in 349 BC. Philip II of Macedon invaded Euboea and established many local tyrants. Phocion went there with a small force, expecting to win over the Euboeans by diplomatic means. But Philip had organized a strong bribe network which corrupted the local politicians. Phocion established his camp on a hill outside the city of Tamino, and ordered his men to ignore those who neglected their duties because of Macedonian bribes. He explained, "They are useless to us, and furthermore, they will get in the way of those that are loyal." In 348 BC, with Macedonian support, the Euboean general Callias brought his armies to attack the camp. Phocion decided to offer many religious sacrifices before battle, until the gods were favorable. However, such activities demanded much time, and the forces of the Euboean mercenaries attacked the enemy. Their general, thinking Phocion was a coward and hoping to force his hand. The Athenian cavalry was ill-disciplined, and not wishing to remain idle, raced out to meet the enemy, but with no formation and in scattered groups, so that they were easily beaten and routed. The Euboeans defeated the mercenaries and they began ravaging the Athenian camp. After Phocion could interpret his sacrifices favorably, he led his main lines into battle while the enemy were surging up the palisade, thinking they had defeated Phocion's forces. This resulted in Phocion cutting down and routing the enemy forces, just with his best men, while the main body of the army rallied some of the previously dispersed troops. Phocion engaged the enemy's chief divisions in a ferocious battle. Phocion was victorious but then freed the captured enemies, fearing the Athenians might treat him too harshly. Subsequently, Phocion captured the fort of Zaretra, which was at Euboea Island's narrowest portion. Then, he returned to Athens. Campaigned to repel Philip II from Byzantium with his armies. Philip II reached the Dardanelles, expecting successively to seize Chersonesus, Perinthus, and Byzantium. The Athenians sent Cherries to confront him, but the Greek colonies reacted negatively to him, as usual. Consequently, the force could do nothing except roam around the region. The Athenians were so angry that they wanted to cancel the expedition. Phocion interceded, saying, "You shouldn't be angry at our allies. You should blame our generals, because of whom we are feared even by those who need us most." Then, in 339, Phocion was sent to the region. To Phocion's good fortune, it transpired that Lyon, a personal friend from the academy and a Byzantine well known for his courage, personally guaranteed the Athenians good faith. Thus, particularly there, the new expedition was amicably received and, even though Phocion had planned to camp outside the walls, was welcomed into the city, where the Athenian soldiers acted with exemplary discipline and courtesy. The Athenian soldiers also fought bravely, defending the site. Then, Phocion attacked the Macedonians around the region, liberating many cities, which expelled their Macedonian garrisons. Eventually, Macedonia was forced to withdraw from the region. However, Phocion was wounded, so he returned to Athens. Mission to aid Megara secretly. The Megarians requested military help from Phocion. Phocion arrived with his army and was warmly received. He erected 2 long walls, from Megara to the seaport of Nisarea. The Megarians felt so safe that they allied with Athens.